President, please be seated. The court is now in session. Ms. Sakalwati, could you report the attendance of the parties and individuals to the proceeding? Sakalwati, Mr. President, all parties to the proceeding are present except the accused Ieng Sari, who is present in the holding cell downstairs. He requests to waive his presence in today's proceedings through his counsel. The request is for the whole day. The letter of waiver has been submitted to the greffier. As for the witness, after the conclusion of the current witness, that is TCW 694, is waiting in the waiting room to be called by the chamber. Through his best knowledge and ability, he has no relationship by blood or marriage to any of the parties or the civil parties to the proceeding. This witness already took an oath this morning. The next witness will be accompanied by the duty counsel, Mom Suthir. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Ruchampton. There will be questions again put to you by Ieng Sari's defense team and then by Kipsonpon's defense team. The chamber has observed that during the first few days you have tried your best to provide your testimony, but we also observed that lately there has been some issues in regards to your testimony. So please be reminded that you shall listen carefully to the question and try only to respond or limit your response to the question put to you so that we can save time, and that you can also compose and control your emotion. The floor is now given. However, before we give the floor to Ieng Sari's defense team to put question to this witness, the chamber will now decide the request by Mr. Ieng Sari. The chamber has received the request by Ieng Sari dated 1st August 2012 through his counsel to waive his direct presence in the courtroom and instead to follow the proceeding through audio-visual means for the entire day. Chia Kun TV, the treating doctor of the accused at the detention facility, has examined him this morning and finds that he is fatigued and that he cannot sit for long, and recommends that he shall be authorized by the chamber to follow the proceeding through audio-visual means in the holding cell downstairs. And as Mr. Ieng Sari requests to waive his direct presence in the proceeding today and instead to follow it from the holding cell downstairs through audio-visual means, and that he is capable of communicating with his counsel, the chamber therefore agrees to the request by Ieng Sari to waive his direct presence. and authorized him to follow it through the holding cell downstairs. Via audio-visual means for the entire day of proceeding. AV booth, you are instructed to link the proceeding to the holding cell downstairs for him to follow for the entire day. The floor is now given to Ieng Sari's defense to continue posing questions to this witness. You may proceed.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors, and good morning to everyone in and around the courtroom, and good morning, sir. Let me begin by referring you to your second statement of 21 September 2008, that is E3/63. And I just want to cover a preliminary matter. It would appear from the first page, which is Khmer 00228843, English 00231408, and French 00376053. This interview began at 9 a.m. Now, if we go to the very last page, Khmer 00228846, English 00231412, French 00376057. It says here that the interview ended at 11 hours in the evening on the same date. So by my calculation, that would be approximately 14 hours. And my question to you, sir, is do you recall how long the interview took place? Because from this entire interview, we only have a 14-minute tape of the entire interview.
Response. As I recall, the interview was conducted in the morning and it also continued in the afternoon.
All right. And could you please tell us, how is it that we only have a 14-minute tape of the interview when you indicate that it took the entire day, if you know?
The President witness, please wait until the chamber hears the objection by the prosecution. The prosecution, you may proceed.
Yeah, Mr. President, we would object. This question is calling for speculation from this witness. He's not in a position to know the details of what was put on the case file by the investigating judges. He's already told, given his best recollection of the length of the interview, I don't know how he can respond to a question about what was put on the case file.
I'll ask some preliminary questions, Mr. President, just to move on. According to Mike Dixon, who was the investigator that conducted this interview, along with his Cambodian counterpart, the entire interview was tape recorded. Could you please tell us what was done, what did you do, along with the investigators, for that entire day that is not covered on the 14-minute tape? And please don't speculate. Tell us exactly what you remember doing with the investigators, that is.
response. They posed questions to me and I responded. And probably they also had the audio recording at the time.
All right. Well, according to D107/5, which is the report of the execution of the rogatory letter, signed by Mike Dixon and Svei Samnang, it says that the interview was audio recorded and a statement was taken. The audio recording, which is ready to be played, is approximately 14 minutes long. Prior to the audio recording, since it appears now from your testimony that you spoke with the investigators for the entire day, could you please tell us what exactly was done during that day? For instance, did they show you documents? Did they prepare something in writing for you then to read? What exactly was done? What was discussed? Because we have approximately 13 hours and 46 minutes missing from this interview.
President, witness, wait. The prosecution, you may proceed.
Yes, Mr. President. Objection is simply that Mr. Carnivus is misstating the witness's response. He indicated to the best of his recollection that the interview continued in the afternoon. He did not say it went the whole day. Certainly, based on the English and Khmer versions of this, it is highly likely that the interview did not continue till 11 in the evening. The Khmer version does not say 11 in the evening. That's likely a mistake or typo of some sort. But more to the point, the witness did not say, has not said that he was interviewed the whole day until 11 in the evening. So Mr. Carnivus should not represent that as part of his question.
If I may briefly respond. This is the written record of interview of witness, the summary, which was prepared by the Office of the Core Investigative Judges, Mike Dixon and Svei Samrang. This is what the gentleman purportedly signed at the conclusion. He's told us that it was entire day. I cannot assume that Mike Dixon would have lied in his record of interview and put something that wasn't there. So I'm simply asking the witness to fill us in on the gaps. What happened prior to the tape recording of the 14-minute interview that we have? If he recalls, fine. If he doesn't recall, that's fine too.
Response, I cannot recall all the details.
All right, well, you were asked some details that happened 37 years ago. This interview occurred approximately 4 years ago. Can you provide us some details? Certainly you don't have a short-term memory problem, but a vivid long-term memory. Certainly you must remember some details.
Response. When you refer to the long-term memory, that's one person, but yesterday I did not feel that well and I did not have a good sleep, so my mind was not 100% good. when it comes to the interview, whatever stated in that interview, I would agree to that. But as you asked me yesterday and today, yes, I did meet these two investigators, one foreigner and one Cambodian, and I did provide my thumbprint on the record of interview. Before the start of the audio recording, I was asked some questions, but I could not recall all those questions that I were asked.
All right. And did that questioning take the entire day? Because we only have 14 minutes of what would appear to be an entire day of interviewing. So how long did that questioning take place before you and the investigators went on tape to tape record your interview?
Response. As I stated, I cannot recall the detailed event. There's simply a gap that I cannot recall.
All right. Do you recall whether documents were shown to you to refresh your memory so that when you went on tape, you could have an instant recall?
It might be that is the way.
And when listening to the tape, and we can listen to it if you wish, it would appear, at least to my Cambodian colleagues, that you are reading the answers that you are providing. Do you recall whether the statement was actually written out for you for then to read into the tape recording?
Response. If it is possible, you can play the audio so I can hear it. Because I do not know what's on the recording, so I cannot provide you the details of what happened.
Okay, thank you. Mr. President, with your permission, we do have it all queued up. I'm told to ask to play number 1. I've never done this before, but this is what I'm told, to ask to play number 1, which is the second interview of the gentleman. Perhaps he can listen to part or all of it, and that might assist him to recollect how the interview took place 4 years ago.
The President, Counsel Michael Canavas, could you provide the detail regarding the audio portion you intend to play in this courtroom so that it can become a proper record for the transcript and the chamber can instruct the AV booth to display that portion? And secondly, could you first tell the counsel, tell the chamber regarding that audio portion of the interview with the witness, and to compare it with the summary of the written record of interview? What were the discrepancies in this instance?
Thank you, Mr. President. We would ask that the entire interview be played. It's D107/3R. It's queued up as to play number 1. It's a short interview. This would allow the gentleman to hear his own words. I believe also the Cambodian judges would be able to tell whether this is spoken or actually written. When you look at what was transcribed and you look at the summary, is virtually verbatim. When you look at the first statement, for instance, we have close to 100 pages of the interview that was transcribed with a 10-page or 8-page summary. On this particular summary of the second interview, we have 5 pages, but if you take out the heading, it's about 4 pages long, which is exactly about 14 minutes. So, based on us doing our due diligence, first we listened to the tape, as we normally do with all the statements. It was highlighted to us, to me at least, by my colleagues, that it appeared that it is written as opposed to spoken, because some of the language used comes off that way, and the way it's being, the gentleman is speaking. And also when we put in for the transcription and then compared it to the actual summary, miraculously, the summary dovetails the transcription which we just got. And so, based on all of this, we made our application early on, as you recall, before the witness came into court, where we thought that an irregularity occurred. The gentleman now has indicated that the interview took place the entire day and that he spoke to them. Perhaps they showed him some documents. He doesn't recall exactly. And he's unsure whether he actually read his statement that was prepared for him, which is why he's now asking to hear it. So it's 14 minutes, and we would request that the entire portion be played.
The prosecution, you may proceed.
Mr. President, we would have no objection to playing the audio. We think, given the assertions being made by counsel, it would be worthwhile to hear the 14-minute tape. I don't think he's made, on a number of occasions, assertions based on comments of his national counsel. I don't think that's appropriate for lawyers to evaluate listening to a tape, whether a witness is reading or something. So that certainly is not evidence. So we should listen to the tape. And I would ask that counsel cease misrepresenting the witness's statement. He continues to say the interview lasted the entire day when that is not what the witness said. He misrepresents the timing. The Khmer original of this does not say 11 p.m., yet he continues to represent that to the court. But given his assertions, I think it's appropriate for us to listen to the 14-minute tape.
President, Judge Cartwright, you may proceed.
Mr. Carnavas, the trial chamber has a practical problem in relation to the submission or the request that you are making. You suggest that it's due to the information you have received from your national colleagues that this matter was highlighted for you. Therefore, it is to do with the tone or the manner in which the answers are given that makes you suggest that there has been some unclarity about the way in which the statement has been given. Two of the judges on the bench would not be able to understand this from the Khmer. Do you suggest that we would be able to pick this up from the English or the French? How do you expect us to deal with this assertion that you are making?
Well, I'm making an offer of proof as opposed to an assertion. And I think that's where I take exception to the prosecution's characterization of what I'm attempting to do, because I'm answering a question. Obviously, I'm at the same disadvantage as the two international judges. But if I may direct the trial chamber's attention to what the gentleman indicated, I asked him, and he suggested that if he listened to the tape, perhaps that might assist him. That's why I made the suggestion. I did not come in here today with the expectation of playing the tape, although I had it ready and queued up. But the gentleman indicated that it might assist him in recollect, because he is, as far as I understand today, saying that it is a possibility that he read his answers and his answers were tape recorded. That's my understanding of what he has stated. And if I'm misstating, I can ask him again.
Yes, the Chamber has noted that issue, Mr. Carnavas, that it was the witness himself who proposed this, but we're still left with the same end result. Some of the judges are unable to evaluate the suggestions that you have made and will not be able to do that independently of our colleagues. If there were discrepancies between the tape, the audio record, and the statement, that would be a different matter. But it's a waste of time, really, to listen to it in French and English, because we cannot evaluate the suggestions that you are making. Insofar as the witness thinks it might be useful to refresh his memory, so be it, but I don't think we can take it any further than that. But I think we'll need a little more time to discuss this matter before we finally decide. Thank you.
Very well. I can ask one or two more questions, because I saw one of the judges shaking their head, perhaps as an indicator that I was misrepresenting what the witness had said. And so perhaps I can ask the witness again a couple of questions, and then we can take this up at some other point after during the recess. You can discuss this issue. I'm willing to move on, but I want to make sure to be fair to the gentleman. Does he recall whether answers were written out for him to read into the tape recording? If he doesn't recall, that's fine, but I would like to get an answer from the gentleman.
Response. The questions in 2008 session started 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So it was 2 hours, and I acknowledge this. At that time, questions were posed to me and read out, and that the recording was kept.
I'll move on, Mr. President.
The President, you may proceed, but please be more precise on the date. The witness already indicated that the testimony on the second phase started at 9 a.m. and concluded at 11 a.m., not all the way to 11 p.m. Afternoon. So this could be mistaken for another document E3/24, which but the document before us here is more about E3/63, which in which the interview lasted for 2 hours only, and this may indeed lead to the confusion. So could counsel be advised to be mindful and also be precise to the relevant document to avoid this misleading?
Thank you, Mr. President, but I do wish to comment. I'm not trying to mislead the witness. The document that I have in English says 11 in the evening. Somebody put it there. This is from the Office of the Co-Investigative Judges. The gentleman did say earlier that it took the better part of the day. Now he's changing his story. What happened in between, I don't know. But to me, it seems that I'm going exactly by what I have. I'm not trying to mislead the gentleman. I've indicated what the number is, and I do take exception to the insinuation that somehow I'm trying to mislead the witness.
The President, indeed, we have the Khmer document which states clearly that the interview conducted at 9 a.m. and concluded at 11 a.m. E3/63, the interview that conducted in Dong Village, Malay District, Banteay Meanchey Province. And this interview concluded at 11 o'clock on the same date. Is it because of the translation problem or because of other? Could you please have it verified? We really rely on the Khmer document of the interview. Grefshe, could you please provide the English version of the document to me so that I can have them all verified? The reason I really emphasized on this because we were afraid that there could have been some misunderstanding. There was another interview that is stated in the document that lasted until the evening, but not this one. National Counsel for Mr. Kyosampon, you may now proceed. Counsel Kong Som On. Thank you, Mr. President. I may need to help clarify this. Witness indicated that the interview started at 9 a.m., but the interview concluded at 11 o'clock, which does not emphasize whether it's 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. Thank you. This is perhaps the culprit of this kind of misleading problem.
Thank you, and which is why I try to be fair to the gentleman to ask him initially how long the interview took place. And initially he said it went into the afternoon. So as to not waste any more time on this, I would like to go on to my next series of questions. With your permission, Mr. President, I would like to continue.
The President, you may proceed.
Okay, sir. Now let's go back to when you joined the revolution. And it might be useful if you put the document down because I will not be referring to the document. Now, you've indicated to us that you speak Khmer, although you're not fluent in it. And so I would like to ask you some questions about your education. Could you please tell us how many years of formal education do you have?
Response. You were asking me how many years of formal educations I had. I don't know how to respond to this question because I don't understand the question.
All right. Did you go to school when you were a boy?
Response. I did not go to school. In my village, I did not go to school. I only learned when I joined the revolution.
All right. So when you joined the revolution back in 1963, I believe you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were approximately 16 years old. Is that correct?
Response. Yes, it is. In 1963, I was 16 or 17 years old, and I was still with my parents. The meetings started in the jungle, and I started to ferry letters from one village to another.
And those meetings, in what language were they being carried out?
Response. The meetings were carried out in Jarai language.
Now, based on your earlier answers, is it fair to say that you began learning Khmer on or about 1963?
Response. I started to learn Khmer from 1963, but I did not go to a proper school. At that time, my in-law, who had a base, and in the evenings, he would write something for me to read.
Okay, so just to be clear, at that point when you were learning Khmer, could you at least speak it? Or did you have to learn how to speak, how to read, and how to write?
Response. In 1963 and prior to 1963, in 61 and 62, at first we learned Jarai letters, the letters that are more like the French alphabets, and then we learned Laos letters. And in 1963, my in-law, whom I said had a base, he did not go to school, but he learned on the job in the movement when he led the movement, because he was taught some Khmer, so he just imparted the lesson he learned on the job to me like that. It's not a systematic form of education.
All right, so in 1967 or 68, how good was your Khmer by that point, considering the way you were learning it?
Response. In 1966, I left my home. It was in August 1968. In 1967, a year before that, I stayed with another cadre in another village where I was taught to listen to Khmer conversation, like eating, going places, knowing the directions, only the terms, like that. So I picked up, I memorized these terms. At that time, I could listen to some Khmer words spoken by Bong Lan. My Khmer was 30% at that time, and it was good enough for me to perform my work, to carry the letters to the target locations. It was difficult, the roads was difficult, but I could still manage to go about comfortably. And I later on was noted by the brothers that I could do my work.
All right. Let me go back to my question. By 1967 or 68, could you read or write Khmer? Some words, directions, and asking for things, but could you read and could you write?
Response. At that time, I couldn't write properly. But at that time, when I was taught, they taught based on the documents. They was teaching about the People's War, the guerrillas' war. I had to memorize the documents. The documents were handed out to me, and I had to read and memorize things. The terms American imperialist, the struggle movement or resistance movement, these terms were well picked by me. And when I remember very clearly when Ieng Sari came to teach us.
My question is, could you read? It's a yes or it's a no. Could you read Khmer at that time?
The President, International Co-Prosecutor, you may now proceed.
I would object. The witness did answer his question and explained exactly what he was able to do in terms of reading materials and writing. And I would add that counsel's tone is inappropriate. He's being argumentative and badgering the witness, and in addition to asking him a question that he already just answered.
Mr. President, first, the gentleman indicated that he was learning words, directions. So he's memorizing words so he knows what is left, what is right, what is forward, what is backwards. The next question was, could he read? Now, from his previous answer, it appeared that he wasn't learning how to read, which is why I asked him. And I'm interested in knowing whether he could read at the time. And it's a simple answer. It's a yes or it's a no. Could he read? And to what extent?
Response. As indicated, I could read and some text, and I could take note because I had learned letters. I was in grade 7 in Laos language. So when I started learning Khmer, the education I obtained in learning Laos language could help me learn the Khmer language, and I could read.
All right. Now, So Hong, in his interview, and I'm referring to E3/417, Khmer page 00399186, English 00404288, French 00434725, states the following: that this document mentions Comrade Chiem, who was an ethnic minority but could not speak Khmer very well. Is that a fair characterization of your Khmer speaking capabilities, sir?
Response. Yes.
Thank you. And during the period from 67 to 68 to, say, 1975, can you please explain to us how much time during the day or during the week or during the month you devoted to improving your reading and writing skills in Khmer, if you spend any time at all?
Response. I really have high devotion. I learn to read, to speak, and in the community, the majority of us, or in the movement at that time, the majority of us was ethnic minority people. 80 of them, many of whom were Charai ethnic people, except the senior brothers. And we were very committed to speaking Khmer, not communicating with other in our Charai language, and we were really determined to this.
All right, thank you. Now, let's talk about the period when you were working as a guard or security in Ratanakiri. Can you please tell us who your superior was, who was giving you orders?
Response. There were some Khmer brothers, including Bong Pang and Bong Yon, Bong Sơi, Bong Yan, who gave me orders, and my immediate superior was Bong Pang.
And during that period, was So Hong working along with you, doing more or less the same things as you were doing?
Response. Bong So Hong did not work with me at that time. He only came to the Dragon Tails location along with Bong Koi Thun. It was not until the September of 1970 when we met.
All right, but when he did come in 1970, did he also work along with you in security or guarding under the supervision and direction of Pong?
Response. I went from the Dragon's Tail location with Bong Pang, not So Hong.
So are you telling us here today that So Hong was not with you then at that time? That you never worked with as security or guard with So Hong under the direction of Pong? I just want to make sure we have a clear picture here.
Response. Indeed, Bong So Hong was under the supervision of Bong Pang.
And during that period, was he working along with you, or was he in a different location, but still under Pong's supervision? Which of the two?
Response. From the time we met in the jungle between Mondulkiri and Kyrgyz, and until at 71 we had remained together, working together. We were under Pang's supervision, working together until the date when Phnom Penh was liberated.
Okay, because I'm looking at his testimony, and it's Khmer 00803718-19, English 00804961, and French it's 00804855, testimony given on 26th of April 2012. He's asked a question, and just to be precise, I believe I'm asking him the question, starting with line 7 in English, page 51. But let me switch slightly to Chiem. As I understand your testimony yesterday, you also met him out there in the jungle in 68 or 69. Is that correct? Answer, yes. It was time in 1967, 68, or 69. Question, and was he also under Pong's supervision or authority, or was he under someone else's authority at the time? Both Chiem and I were under the supervision of Pong. And later on, he says the same thing at the bottom of the page. I was under Pong's supervision, so I would work together with Chiem. So let me go back. You said today, 1970. Here, the possibility is 67, 68, or 69. Thinking back, is it possible that you were working with him as early as 67, 68, or 69 under Pong?
Response. So Hong, during 1967 and 68, was not known to me. I did not know him, nor did he know me. I met him in the jungle, and then I worked with him at office S21 until the liberation. But prior to that, that is in between 67 to 69, I had not met him.
All right. And going back to what I was originally asking, when he was out there with you, taking directions from Pong, was he doing the same kind of work that you were doing? That is, providing security for the brothers or the uncles?
Response. When we were together at S71, we had different duties. Pong was overall in charge in that office, and that was his leadership responsibility. As for So Hong, he was actually the secretary of Uncle Pol Pot. He did the writing for Pol Pot, and he actually knew how to ride a motorbike before I did. And when Ông had to go somewhere, he would transport him on his motorbike.
All right, so if he testified that he was providing security, at least to the best of your knowledge, you never saw him doing that sort of work.
Response. When you talk about security, there should be a distinction between the first phase within 1970 to 1975 and another period from late 1975, that is from May 1975 to late 75. We were working together. We also had the same quarter of accommodation. His room was adjacent or back to back to my room. And when I got the task as the chief of the office, he was the second person after Ieng Sari, and I was the person directly subordinate to him.
We're back in 1969. We will get to that period. So that's the part I'm focusing right now. Do you recall my original question, or would you like me to ask it again? Which is, back then, if he was providing security, is it possible that you were not aware of it?
Response: I just stated I had not met him during that period. Because I did not meet him and he did not meet me. So we were not introduced to one another or talked about the matter of security at all.
All right. We'll go step by step. I just thought you told us earlier that you met him at S71. Now, did you actually meet him, or was it a mistranslation?
President witness, you do not need to respond now, you need to wait. The prosecution, you may proceed.
Yeah, Mr. President, perhaps Mr. Carnivus didn't notice, but when he asked the previous question, he referred to the 1960s, the period. This is why he got the answer that he got. If he wants to ask him about the 1970s and S71, I believe he should be precise about the time period that he's asking.
The gentleman indicated 67, 68, he had not met him, which left open the possibility of 69. So my question is, back in S71, was So Hong providing security? You told us that he was Pol Pot's secretary, writing things for him. Now I'm asking you, was he providing security with you under Pong's supervision?
Response: as I said, at office S71, we were there together under the leadership or supervision of Pong. But I did not receive any instruction from him regarding the security matters. It was only Pong who was overall in charge. But my direct superior was Kain. He was also an ethnic minority person.
Let me try one more time. I'm not asking you, sir, whether So Hong was giving you any directions. I'm asking you a very simple question. And the question is, when you were there at S71, I'll wait until the gentleman finishes.
The President, Mr. Witness and Duty Counsel, please do not discuss during the time that you are being questioned. You only discuss the matter or your response that you may fear would incriminate yourself. Otherwise, it's going to interfere with the process of question-answer session. Counsel, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me go back to what, the question that I've asked already 3 times, which is, back in S71, when you were taking directions from Pong and providing security or guarding, Was So Hong doing the same thing? Among other things, was he also providing security and guarding along with you? It's a yes, it's a no, it's a I don't recall.
Response, I do not know.
Now, when you say you don't know, are you suggesting, and do you wish the trial chamber to believe, that he could have been out there taking direction from Pong, providing security at meetings that were being held there, and you, on guard, at the same time, would not have known his presence? Is that your answer?
The President witness, wait. The prosecution, you may proceed. And the Khmer channel is not that clear. Could you check?
Mr. President, our objection is that the witness has now answered his question that he doesn't know, and now he's asking him to speculate on what may have been going on that he didn't know about. So the question is argumentative and calling for speculation from the witness.
Mr. President, we've heard So Hong, we've heard his testimony, we know what he said. I won't repeat it here. Now, it does provide a possibility. Perhaps So Hong was there incognito. Perhaps he was there posing as something other than what he told us. But it goes to the gentleman's credibility, because the gentleman has claimed that he could overhear what is happening at the meetings. So Hong, who told us he was there and guarded, told us something of a different story. That's why I'm asking. If the gentleman, if So Hong was there guarding along with him, then we have a contradiction. If So Hong was not, then obviously we have two other possibilities. But I'm willing to press the gentleman for a clear and concise and honest answer.
The President, the objection and ground for the objection by the prosecution is substantiated and sustained. Witness, you do not need to respond to the last question.
Now, when you were out there at S71, were you staying in the same location as So Hong? In other words, were you occupying the same hut?
I heard on the Khmer channel that it S21. Is it the translation issue or is it the question? It should not be S21.
S71.
The President, Mr. Counsel, please repeat your question.
When you were out there under the direction of Pong, and So Hong was also out there, were you occupying, staying in the same hut?
Response, no, as I said earlier. He lived close to Om because he was the secretary for Om. And there was a kitchen hall which was about 200-300 meters from him. And when it comes to guard duty, So Hong was also on guard duty, but it was part of the internal guard duty while I was engaged in the external guard duty. And here I refer to S21 and at 71 rather, and S71 had internal and external compound, a part of it.
All right. So let me make sure I understand you correctly. So Hong, according to your testimony and your memory, was part of the internal guarding while you were external. Did I get it right?
បាទមិញ
Response, yes, that's what I just said.
All right. And when you say internal, does that mean that he would have been on the inside? He would have been where the meetings were being held while you were on the outside or further away?
Response, I was guarding outside, so I was at a distance, but it varied. And while I was on guard, I was also mobile.
And what was the distance that Pong had designated for the external security? How far were you to be located in order to guard?
Response. During the working hours, if I was instructed by my direct superior to provide a close guard, then I would do so. And if I was assigned to guard at a distance, then I would just obey the instruction.
You told us earlier that that So Hong was part of the internal and you're part of the external. And my question is, if there is a meeting going on and you're part of the external, can you please tell us the distance, how many meters away you would be as a second perimeter of guarding those who are conducting the meeting? How far away would you be from the internal guards?
President, witness, please wait till you hear the decision on the objection raised by the prosecution. The prosecution, you may proceed.
Yes, Mr. President, we would ask that counsel specify which meetings he's asking about. There's been no testimony that there was a standard distance that they had to guard for all meetings. If he wants to lay that foundation, he can. Otherwise, if he wants to ask about a specific meeting, he should direct the witness to a specific meeting.
Your Honor, I'm entitled to get general information from the gentleman. So I'm asking him a simple question because it's our understanding from his testimony and also from our knowledge that there was more than one perimeter of guarding. He's already told us two. So he's told us that he's on the exterior. Presumably, they guard in a sort of a uniform fashion. If not, he'll tell us. I'm going step by step.
The President witness, you do not need to respond to the last question posed to you by the counsel. It is unlikely that it will contribute to ascertaining the truth. Counsel move on to other questions which are closely relevant to the portions of the closing order alleged against your client. Please try to proceed as fast as you and efficient as you can, because the time is running out.
Thank you, Mr. President. Although the line of questioning was directly related to the testimony elicited by the prosecutor concerning what he heard at or what he could hear at meetings, hence the reasons why I thought this was a relevant area to explore. Sir, could you please tell us if you were managing any people while you were out there guarding?
Response. Among the 80 of us, we were all on mobile. It was not just myself, but all of us.
That wasn't my question, though. I'm asking whether you were supervising or managing other guards, or were you on your own receiving your orders from Pong and doing as you were directed?
Response. When instructions were given to me by Pong, then I would just follow the instructions, for example, to guard. Regarding Bong Kaen, who was my direct supervisor, I would also follow his instructions. And if he assigned me to guard, then I would guard. Or if he asked me to assign other people to guard, then I would just do that.
All right. And if you could please explain to us from that period all the way to the fall of Phnom Penh in April 75, the level of your experience in managing or controlling other guards or soldiers.
Response. I did have experience so that I could carry out my duty. Without the experience, I would not be able to accomplish it. In terms of politics or the military, I did have experience in those areas as well. And when it comes to patrolling around the office or the guard duty or the management, I did have experience in these areas as well. So I did have quite a great deal of experience. Because we worked during the day and we held a meeting in the evening to criticize or self-criticize one another in order to improve ourselves. The meeting was a kind of an objection to lighten our future path and to resolve those matters. So we would see the changes, the improvement, for example.
All right. Now, can you please give us some specific examples? Because you spoke in generalities. You told us that you had these theoretical meetings where you're self-criticizing each other. But if you could tell us concretely one instance where you managed more than, say, yourself, where you had a number of people and you were asked to manage a situation, whether it was guarding or whether it was patrolling or whether it was attacking. Can you please, so we have an indicator of the real level of your experience in managing people?
Response. Let me give you an example. Let me touch upon the issue of security. Guarding at night or day is still part of the security. So the security is for myself, for everybody else. And based on the instructions, we would carry out the duties. And there had been no incident related to this matter or the security matter. And we would know and deal with any issues that would have come up.
All right. Does that mean what you're trying to tell us, that you were in charge of those guarding and that you were able to position the people in a particular way, particular place to ensure there no incident? Is that the example you're giving us? Or are you merely telling us that while you were on guard duty, nothing occurred? Which of the two?
Response. Regarding the true instances you raised, I myself, I was responsible for what I was assigned, and everyone else did the same. That is in regards to the guard duty.
All right, thank you. I'm about to move on to another topic, which may take longer. Well, it may take 10 minutes, so I'm at your disposal, Mr. President. I can go on, or I see it's 10:30.
The President, the time is now appropriate for a short recess. We will have a break for 20 minutes and return at 10 to 11. Court officer, could you assist the witness and the duty counsel during the break and have them return at 10 to 11?
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ